A millionaire invites a virgin woman to his room. You'll never forget this night. When a crisis threatens his fortune, she begins to discover that their relationship isn't just about desire, but also emotional need. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching from. Stay tuned. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the weathered wooden floor of Lily Bennett's small apartment in Portland, Oregon. Her fingers, stained with various shades of blue and green acrylic paint, danced across the canvas with practiced precision. This painting was different from her usual landscapes. It depicted a woman standing at the edge of a cliff, her arms stretched wide as if ready to take flight. Lily stepped back, tilted her head, and sighed. Like all her other works, this one would probably end up stacked against the wall with dozens of others, never to be seen by anyone but her. At 28, Lily had long accepted that her artistic dreams might remain just that, dreams. Growing up in a blue-collar family where practicality trumped passion, she'd learned to contain her artistic spirit within the confines of her small apartment. During the day, she worked as a barista at the Grindstone, a local coffee shop that barely paid enough to cover rent and art supplies. At night she painted, pouring her unfulfilled desires onto canvases that no one ever saw. Another masterpiece that'll collect dust, she muttered to herself, wiping her hands on her already paint-stained jeans. The truth was, Lily had never submitted her work to a gallery or shown it to anyone with connections in the art world. Fear of rejection had become her closest companion, more reliable than any relationship she'd attempted to maintain. Her phone buzzed with a text from her roommate and best friend Zoe Miller. "Don't forget, waitressing tonight at the Richardson Foundation Gala. Black dress code, car picking us up at 6:30. Cannot be late." Lily groaned. She had forgotten. Zoe worked for an event staffing agency and occasionally pulled Lily in when they needed extra hands. The money was good, much better than barista tips, but mingling with Portland's elite always left Lily feeling like an imposter, a sentiment that extended to most areas of her life. "Black dress code," she whispered, opening her closet, to find her only formal outfit, a simple black dress purchased from a thrift store 3 years ago. It was nothing special, but it would have to do. Across town in a sleek glass and steel penthouse overlooking the Willamette River, Ethan Reed stared blankly at the spreadsheets displayed on his 3-monitor setup. As CEO of Reed Innovations, a tech empire that had revolutionized renewable energy storage solutions, Ethan had more money than he knew what to do with. At 35, he had been featured on the cover of Forbes twice, named among the 30 under 30 when he was 27, and had grown his father's struggling electronics company into a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Yet none of it filled. The hollow feeling that had taken residence in his chest 5 years ago when Claire left him, just 3 days before their wedding. The woman he thought he'd spend his life with had chosen his then business partner instead, leaving him with a betrayal that cut deeper than he ever let anyone see. "Mr. Reed," his assistant's voice interrupted through the intercom. "The board members are asking if you'll be attending the Richardson Foundation Gala tonight. They believe it would be beneficial for you to make an appearance, considering the potential partnerships being discussed." Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose. The Richardson Foundation, one of the largest philanthropic organizations in the Pacific Northwest, was courting Reed Innovations for a major green energy initiative in developing countries. It was a partnership that could further legitimize his company's mission beyond mere profit. "Tell them I'll be there," he replied, the weariness in his voice evident even to himself. After his assistant left, Ethan walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse. From his vantage point, the city sprawled before him like a miniature model, twinkling lights and tiny cars, people going about lives so different from his own. Sometimes he wondered what it would be like to be anonymous again, to walk into a room without whispers following him, to meet someone who didn't already know his net worth before his name. His phone buzzed. Another message from Vanessa, the model he'd been casually seeing for the past month. She was beautiful, intelligent, and completely predictable in her interest in his wealth and status. Like all the others before her, she was a temporary distraction, nothing more. Wear the Rolex I got you, we'll be the hottest couple there, can't wait. XOXO. Ethan didn't bother responding. He wasn't even sure he'd bring her tonight. These days, he preferred attending events alone. It was easier than pretending to be interested in someone who was only interested in what he represented. The Richardson Foundation Gala was held at the historic Sentinel Hotel, its ballroom, transformed into an ethereal garden, with thousands of white orchids and crystalline decorations, meant to evoke the Foundation's focus on water conservation projects. Lily felt out of place the moment she stepped into the staff preparation area, where Zoe was already changing into her serving uniform. "You look like you're attending a funeral," Zoe remarked, eyeing Lily's simple dress critically. "Maybe I am. The funeral of my dignity," Lily replied with a weak smile. "Remind me again why I agreed to this." "Because you need the money and because you love me," Zoe answered, adjusting her bow tie in the mirror. "Just do what you did last time. Smile, offer champagne, don't spill anything on anyone worth more than $1 million. Lily nodded, trying to calm her nerves. She had always been uncomfortable around wealth, finding it easier to observe life from the sidelines than to participate fully. It was safer that way. No expectations, no disappointments. As the evening began, Lily moved through the crowd with a tray of champagne flutes, trying to blend into the background. The room buzzed with conversations about stock options, vacation, homes and charity initiatives that cost more than she would make in 10 years. It was a different world, one where financial struggle was a foreign concept, where dreams weren't limited by bank account balances. Across the room, Ethan Reed entered alone, immediately drawing attention despite his desire for anonymity. He nodded politely to acquaintances, but kept moving, avoiding entanglement in any one conversation for too long. These events always made him feel like an exhibit in a museum, observed but not truly seen. "Mr. Reed, we're honored you could join us." Margaret Richardson, the Foundation's elderly matriarch, approached him with genuine warmth. Unlike most, she had known Ethan since before his success, when his father was still struggling to keep their small company afloat. "Mrs. Richardson," Ethan smiled, one of his few authentic expressions of the night. "I wouldn't miss it. Your foundation's work is impressive." "Not as impressive as what you've accomplished," she replied. "Your father would have been proud." A shadow crossed Ethan's face briefly. "I hope so." "Now," Mrs. Richardson continued, "there are several people you should meet tonight. The solar project in East Africa has garnered significant interest." As Mrs. Richardson guided him through the crowd, Ethan's gaze wandered, finding temporary refuge in observing a server with dark auburn hair who seemed just as uncomfortable as he felt. There was something different about her, the way she held herself, slightly apart from everything, watching rather than participating. It was a feeling he recognized all too well. Lily felt someone watching her and looked up, accidentally meeting the intense stare of a man she instantly recognized from magazine covers and news segments. Ethan Reed. Their eyes locked for a brief moment, and Lily felt an unexpected jolt of electricity run through her. It wasn't just that he was handsome, which he undeniably was, but there was a depth to his gaze, a complexity she hadn't expected from someone who seemingly had everything. She quickly looked away, embarrassed to be caught staring. When she dared to glance back, he was still watching her, a curious expression on his face. Lily turned and moved in the opposite direction, her heart beating faster than it should. Little did she know that this brief exchange of glances would be the catalyst that would change both their lives forever, pulling them into a dance of desire, secrets and self-discovery neither had imagined possible. The evening progressed like a choreographed dance, with Portland's elite moving in practiced patterns across the ballroom floor. Lily continued her circuit with the champagne tray, occasionally stealing glances at Ethan Reed. Each time she looked, she found his eyes searching the crowd, until inevitably they would find her again. "You've been spotted," Zoe whispered, as they passed each other in the service corridor. "The Ethan Reed hasn't taken his eyes off you for the past hour." "Don't be ridiculous," Lily replied, but her flushed cheeks betrayed her. "He's probably just wondering why the help looks so out of place." Or maybe he's wondering what you look like without that hideous uniform, Zoe teased with a wink. Seriously though, this is your chance. Go talk to him. And say what exactly? Hi, I'm a failed artist who serves coffee for a living. I'm sure he'd be fascinated, Lily scoffed, straightening her bow tie nervously. Returning to the ballroom, Lily tried to focus on her job, but awareness of Ethan's presence made her increasingly clumsy. As she offered champagne to an elderly couple, her hand trembled slightly, causing the flutes to clink together. Careful, dear, the woman cautioned with a condescending smile. Those probably cost more than you make in a week. Lily forced a polite smile, swallowing her pride for the sake of the paycheck. As she turned to move on, she collided with someone, sending the remaining champagne flutes crashing to the marble floor. A collective gasp rippled through the nearby guests, followed by an uncomfortable silence as all eyes turned toward the commotion. I'm so sorry, Lily stammered, mortified as she knelt to pick up the shattered glass. She kept her eyes down, unable to face the judgment she knew would be on every face around her. It was my fault, came a deep voice from above her. Let me help you. Lily looked up to find Ethan Reed kneeling beside her, collecting glass shards with his bare hands. His $10,000 suit pants were now pressed against the wet, glass-strewn floor, but he seemed completely unconcerned. Mr. Reed, please, the staff will handle this, a flustered event manager intervened, snapping his fingers for cleanup assistance. I caused the accident, Ethan insisted, his eyes never leaving Lily's. It's the least I can do. The proximity between them was electric. Up close, Lily could see the flecks of gold in his hazel eyes, the slight imperfection of a small scar above. His right eyebrow, the genuine concern in his expression. He wasn't what she expected. There was a vulnerability beneath the confident exterior that caught her off guard. Thank you, she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. As the cleanup crew took over, Ethan stood and offered Lily his hand. She hesitated before taking it, feeling calluses on his palm that surprised her. This wasn't the soft hand of someone who'd never worked a day in his life. These were hands that had built something. Are you all right? He asked still, holding her hand a moment longer than necessary. Just my pride that's injured, Lily admitted with a small smile. I don't usually make such a spectacle of myself. I don't believe that for a second, Ethan replied, a hint of playfulness in his tone. You strike me as someone who makes an impression wherever you go. Before Lily could respond, they were interrupted by Vanessa, who appeared suddenly at Ethan's side, threading her arm possessively through his. Darling, everyone's waiting for you in the VIP section, she purred, casting a dismissive glance at Lily. The governor wants to discuss that solar project. Ethan's expression shifted subtly, the warmth in his eyes cooling. I'll be there momentarily, Vanessa. Vanessa lingered, her message clear. Know your place. With a tight smile, she finally walked away, her designer gown trailing elegantly behind her. Your girlfriend is beautiful, Lily said, taking a step back to re-establish the appropriate distance between them. She's not my girlfriend, Ethan replied quickly. Just a companion for social events. An awkward silence fell between them, punctuated by the distant sounds of classical music and polite laughter. Lily knew she should excuse herself, return to her duties, and forget this strange encounter. That would be the sensible thing to do. Instead, she found herself asking, does that arrangement work for you, having someone who's just there for show? The question was bold, perhaps even inappropriate, but something about Ethan made Lily feel she could speak freely. His eyes widened slightly in surprise, before a genuine smile spread across his face. That might be the most honest question. Anyone's asked me in years, he said. And no, it doesn't work for me, none of this does. He gestured to the opulent surroundings. But I've learned to play the part. Mr. Reed, an assistant appeared at his side. The governor is waiting. Ethan nodded dismissively, his focus still on Lily. What's your name? Lily Bennett. Lily, he repeated, as if testing how it felt on his lips. I'm Ethan. I know who you are, Mr. Reed, she replied with a small smile. Everyone does. Something flashed in his eyes, Disappointment, perhaps. Right. Of course. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. If you're free tomorrow night, I'm hosting a small gathering at my penthouse, much less formal than this. I'd like you to come. Lily stared at the card, embossed with the Reed Innovations logo in silver against matte black. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I don't exactly fit in with your crowd. That's precisely why I'm asking, Ethan said, his voice lowering. 8 o'clock. The address is on the card. His fingers brushed against hers as he pressed the card into her palm. You'll never forget this night, Lily Bennett, I promise you that. Before she could respond, he was gone, swallowed by the crowd of influential figures all vying for his attention. Lily stood frozen, the weight of his invitation heavy in her hand. She knew she should throw the card away, forget this encounter, return to her safe, predictable life. Yet something about Ethan Reed had awakened a dormant part of her, the part that once dreamed of more than just survival, the part that yearned to create beauty and meaning, the part that wasn't afraid to take risks. The remainder of the evening passed in a blur. Lily performed her duties mechanically, her mind replaying every second of her interaction with Ethan. Occasionally she would catch his gaze across the room, an invisible thread connecting them despite the sea of people between them. So, are you going to tell me what happened with Billionaire Boy, or am I going to have to guess? Zoe asked as they changed out of their uniforms at the end of the night. Lily hesitated, then showed her the business card. He invited me to his place tomorrow night, some small gathering. Zoe's eyes widened. Holy shit, Lily. This is like Pretty Woman, except you're not a hooker and he's hotter than Richard Gere. I'm not going, Lily said firmly, though her resolve was already weakening. It's ridiculous. What would someone like him want with someone like me? Maybe he's tired of fake people, Zoe suggested. You're many things, Lily Bennett, but fake isn't one of them. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? I could make a complete fool of myself. He could be a total jerk. I could fall for someone completely out of my league and end up heartbroken, Lily listed, counting on her fingers. Or, Zoe countered, you could have an amazing night with an incredibly hot, incredibly rich man who seems genuinely interested in you. Sometimes good things happen, Lily. You just have to let them. Back in her apartment, Lily stood in front of her easel, staring at her unfinished painting. The woman on the cliff's edge seemed to be calling to her now, challenging her to take the leap. Impulsively, Lily grabbed her paints and began working, adding new dimensions to the piece. Storm clouds gathering in the distance, but also a break in the clouds where sunlight streamed through. The woman's expression changed too, shifting from fear to determination. As dawn broke over Portland, Lily finally set down her brushes. The painting was complete, the most honest work she'd ever created. It depicted not just fear and hope, but the pivotal moment between them, the decision point where everything could change. She took out Ethan's business card again, tracing her finger over the embossed letters. Tomorrow night could just be another disappointment, another reminder of all the things she couldn't have. Or it could be something else entirely. For once in her life, Lily decided, she would choose possibility over fear. Across town, Ethan sat alone in his penthouse, nursing a glass of scotch as he stared out at the city lights. The gala had been a success by all measurable standards. Several potential partnerships discussed, significant donations secured for the foundation, his public image appropriately maintained. Yet all he could think about was Lily Bennett, the server with auburn hair and eyes that saw through his carefully constructed facade. There had been something refreshing about her directness, her lack of pretense. In a world where everyone wanted something from him, she seemed genuinely unimpressed by his wealth and status. His phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. You were distant tonight. Everything okay? Can I come over? Ethan didn't respond. Instead, he pulled up his laptop and typed Lily Bennett Portland Artist into the search bar. After several attempts with different keywords, he found a small online portfolio, mostly landscapes, and abstract pieces, nothing that had gained commercial attention, but all revealing a unique perspective and raw talent. One painting in particular caught his eye, a solitary figure standing at a crossroads, face turned away from the viewer. The loneliness it conveyed resonated with something deep inside him, a reminder of the isolation he felt, despite being constantly surrounded by people. Ethan closed his laptop and walked to his bedroom, passing the wall safe where he kept the company's most sensitive documents. Tomorrow night, he would show Lily Bennett a side of himself few people ever saw. It was risky, perhaps even foolish, but for the first time in years, he felt something genuine stirring within him, something that made him want to take chances again. As he finally drifted off to sleep, Ethan wondered if Lily would actually show up tomorrow night, and what might happen if she did. Either way, he sensed that something important had been set in motion the moment their eyes met across that crowded ballroom, something neither of them could turn back from now. Lily stood outside Ethan Reed's building, a gleaming tower of glass, and steel that pierced the Portland skyline like a modern monument to success. The doorman eyed her warily as she approached, her vintage dress and second-hand coat clearly marking her as someone who didn't belong. "I'm here to see Ethan Reed," she said, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. "Lily Bennett." The doorman's expression shifted from suspicion to surprise. "Yes, Miss Bennett. Mr. Reed added you to the approved guest list." He gestured toward the private elevator. "Penthouse, you'll need this keycard." As the elevator ascended, Lily's stomach knotted with anxiety. What was she doing here? This morning, her decision had seemed brave, even empowering. Now it felt foolish. The numbers on the elevator panel climbed higher, each floor taking her further from the comfortable anonymity of her life and closer to something unknown. When the doors opened directly into Ethan's penthouse, Lily expected to find a crowded gathering. Instead, she was greeted by silence and the soft ambient lighting of an empty living space that was larger than her entire apartment building. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Portland, the city, lights twinkling like earthbound stars. "Hello?" she called, her voice echoing slightly in the vast space. "You came." Ethan emerged from what appeared to be a home office, dressed casually in jeans and a simple button-down shirt, a stark contrast to the formal attire of the previous night. In this setting, without the trappings of his public persona, he looked younger, more approachable, yet somehow more intense. Lily frowned, glancing around the empty penthouse. "I thought you said there was a gathering." "I may have exaggerated," Ethan admitted, a hint of sheepishness in his smile. "I was afraid you wouldn't come if you knew it would be just us." "You're right. I wouldn't have," Lily replied, crossing her arms defensively. "This feels like a setup." "It's not what you think," Ethan said quickly, noticing her discomfort. "I wanted to talk to you without an audience, without pretense." He gestured toward the kitchen. "I made dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta. I'm not trying to impress you with wealth or status. Quite the opposite, actually." Lily hesitated, torn between curiosity and caution. Every instinct told her to leave, yet something in Ethan's expression, a vulnerability that seemed at odds with his public image, made her stay. "1 hour," she conceded. "And then I'm leaving." Relief washed over Ethan's face. "That's fair. Can I get you something to drink? Wine, water, coffee?" "Wine, please," Lily answered, figuring she could use the liquid courage. As Ethan moved to the kitchen, Lily took the opportunity to explore the space. Unlike the ostentatious luxury she had expected, the penthouse was surprisingly understated. Modern and expensive, certainly, but with a lived-in quality she hadn't anticipated. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled not with decorative volumes, but well-worn paperbacks. A drafting table occupied one corner, covered with technical drawings and notes. What caught her attention most, however, was a painting hanging on the far wall, a stark emotional piece depicting a solitary figure standing before an approaching storm. "That's one of yours," Ethan said, returning with 2 glasses of red wine. "I found your online portfolio last night." Lily froze, equal parts flattered and unsettled. "You researched me?" "I was curious," he admitted. "Your work is extraordinary, raw, honest. Why haven't you shown in galleries? The direct question caught Lily off guard. Not everyone gets to pursue their passion, she replied, accepting the wine glass but keeping her distance. Some of us have bills to pay. It's more than that, Ethan observed, his gaze uncomfortably perceptive. You're talented enough. There's something else holding you back. Lily took a long sip of wine, avoiding his eyes. You don't know anything about me, Mr. Reed. Ethan, he corrected gently. And you're right, I don't. That's why you're here. I want to know you, Lily Bennett. There was an earnestness in his voice that disarmed her. Despite her reservations, Lily found herself drawn to the kitchen island where Ethan had set 2 plates of pasta, simple but aromatic with fresh herbs and garlic. You actually cooked this yourself? She asked skeptically. Don't sound so surprised. Ethan chuckled. I didn't always have a personal chef. I grew up working class in Tacoma. My dad owned a small electronics repair shop that was constantly on the verge of bankruptcy. I learned to cook because my mother worked night shifts as a nurse. This revelation didn't align with the narrative Lily had constructed in her mind. So, how did you go from that to... She gestured broadly at their surroundings. Luck, timing, obsessive determination, Ethan shrugged, twirling pasta onto his fork, and a lot of mistakes along the way. As they ate, the conversation flowed more easily than Lily had expected. Ethan asked questions about her art, her childhood in rural Oregon, her dreams, and listened to her answers with genuine interest. It was disconcerting to be the focus of such intense attention, especially from someone who could presumably have anything and anyone he wanted. Why me? Lily finally asked the question that had been nagging at her. There were dozens of beautiful, sophisticated women at that gala last night. Why invite the server with the clumsy hands and the thrift store dress? Ethan set down his wineglass, considering her question carefully. Because when I looked at you, I saw someone real in a room full of carefully constructed images, including my own. He leaned forward slightly. Do you know how rare that is in my world? To meet someone who isn't performing. Everyone performs, Lily countered. I was literally hired to play a role last night. True, Ethan conceded with a smile. But when our eyes met, I saw recognition. Like you could see through the facade to the person underneath. It's unsettling and refreshing. The intensity of his gaze made Lily's heart race. There was desire there, certainly, but something else too, a hunger for connection that matched her own despite their vastly different circumstances. I should go, she said abruptly, rising from her seat. The emotional intimacy developing between them was more dangerous than any physical attraction. This was a mistake. Lily, wait. Ethan stood, reaching for her hand but stopping short of actually touching her. I'm not asking for anything you don't want to give. I haven't felt this way in a long time. Like maybe someone could see me, the real me, and not just what I represent. The raw honesty in his voice made Lily pause. She recognized the loneliness behind his words, because she felt it too, the isolation of keeping people at arm's length, afraid to reveal too much of herself. Show me your work, she said suddenly. Not Reed innovations, your personal projects, the things you do when no one's watching. Surprise flickered across Ethan's face, followed by a genuine smile. Follow me. He led her down a hallway to a room that stood in stark contrast to the sleek modernity of the rest of the penthouse. Here, electronic components covered workbenches, soldering equipment sat beside half-assembled prototypes, and whiteboards were filled with equations and diagrams. This is where I actually work, Ethan explained, his passion evident as he walked her through the space. The corporate offices are for meetings and management. This is where the real innovation happens. He showed her his current project, a simplified solar power system designed for remote villages without access to electricity. Unlike the high-end products that had made his company famous, these were deliberately basic, built with affordability and repairability as primary considerations. Reed Innovations sells luxury tech products to people who can afford them, Ethan explained, handling a small solar panel with obvious pride. But this could change lives for people who've never had reliable electricity. We're piloting the program in 3 villages in East Africa next month." As he spoke, Lily caught glimpses of the man beneath the billionaire facade, someone passionate, idealistic, and surprisingly vulnerable. The contrast between the public Ethan Reed and the man standing before her now, eyes alight with enthusiasm for a project that would never make headlines, was striking. "Why keep this separate from your company's main mission?" she asked, genuinely curious. Ethan's expression darkened slightly. "The board would shut it down immediately. They're interested in profit margins, not humanitarian projects. I fund this personally, off the books." "That seems unnecessarily complicated. You're the CEO, aren't you? Can't you direct the company however you want?" "It's not that simple," Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Reed Innovations has shareholders, board members, people who've invested millions based on certain expectations. I can't just—" He was interrupted by the sharp ring of his phone. Checking the screen, his expression transformed instantly, the openness replaced by tension. "I need to take this," he said, his voice suddenly all business. "Excuse me for a moment." As Ethan stepped into the hallway, Lily could hear fragments of his conversation, something about plummeting stock prices, an unexpected audit, accusations of financial impropriety. The warmth she'd witnessed moments ago was gone, replaced by the commanding presence of CEO Ethan Reed, barking orders and demanding explanations. Left alone in his workshop, Lily's curiosity got the better of her. Among the technical drawings and prototypes, a folder labeled Project Phoenix Confidential caught her eye. She hesitated only briefly before opening it, revealing documents that made little sense to her, financial reports, internal memos, and what appeared to be evidence of systematic embezzlement within Reed Innovations. One name appeared repeatedly throughout the documents: Claire Westfield, Executive Vice President of Finance. The same Claire who had left Ethan at the altar? "What are you doing?" Ethan's voice, sharp with accusation, startled Lily. She hadn't heard him return. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have." "No, you shouldn't have," he cut her off, snatching the folder from her hands. The trust that had been building between them crumbled instantly, replaced by a wall of suspicion. "Those documents are confidential." "Is Claire Westfield embezzling from your company?" Lily asked directly, refusing to be intimidated. Ethan's jaw tightened. "That's none of your concern." "It looks like someone close to you is stealing millions," Lily persisted. "Someone you trusted, maybe still trust." "You don't know what you're talking about," Ethan snapped. But beneath his anger, Lily could see pain, the wound of betrayal still raw despite the years that had passed. "I think I should go," Lily said quietly, recognizing she had crossed a line, however, unintentionally. Ethan didn't disagree. The connection they'd been building all evening had shattered, leaving awkwardness in its wake. He escorted her silently to the elevator, his expression unreadable. As the doors began to close between them, Lily impulsively held them open. "Whatever's happening with your company, with Claire, don't let it consume you. There's more to you than Reed Innovations." For a moment, Ethan's mask slipped, revealing a glimpse of the vulnerability she'd witnessed earlier. "You don't understand what's at stake." "Maybe not," Lily acknowledged, "but I understand losing yourself to fear. It's a prison I've lived in for years." The elevator doors closed before he could respond, leaving Lily alone with the realization that despite their different circumstances, she and Ethan Reed shared a common struggle, the fear of risking everything for something real. As she rode down to the lobby, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that she had stumbled into something much bigger and more dangerous than a potential romance. The documents she'd seen pointed to a conspiracy within Reed Innovations, one that threatened everything Ethan had built. And somehow, after just one dinner, she found herself caring what happened to him, to the real Ethan Reed, not the billionaire, CEO whose face graced magazine covers. Back in her apartment, Lily tried to make sense of the evening's revelations. Her artist's eye had caught something others might miss: the pain behind Ethan's carefully constructed facade, the loneliness that mirrored her own, and now the betrayal that threatened to destroy him. Without conscious thought, she found herself at her easel, painting with an urgency she hadn't felt in years. As dawn broke, she stepped back to observe her creation, a man standing at the center of a labyrinth reaching toward a distant light, unaware of the shadows gathering behind him. 2 weeks passed without a word from Ethan. Lily tried to convince herself it was for the best. Their worlds were too different. The brief connection they'd shared nothing more than a momentary escape from their respective realities. Yet she found herself checking her phone constantly, hoping for a message that never came. The morning headlines told her why. Reed Innovations stock plummets amid fraud investigation. Accompanying the article was a photo of Ethan leaving the company headquarters, his face haggard, expression grim. The financial press was having a field day with speculation, corporate espionage, accounting irregularities, possible criminal charges. "Your billionaire boyfriend's in trouble," Zoe remarked, sliding the newspaper across their shared kitchen table. "Think he's guilty?" "He's not my boyfriend," Lily replied automatically, "and no, I don't think he's guilty. But I think he knows who is." The image of Claire Westfield's name on those confidential documents haunted her. Impulsively, Lily searched for the woman online, finding a corporate headshot of a striking blonde with sharp features and colder eyes than her polished smile suggested. According to Reed Innovations' website, Claire Westfield had been with the company for 8 years, rising quickly through the ranks to become Executive Vice President of Finance. What the corporate bio didn't mention was her personal history with Ethan, the engagement, the betrayal. Lily wondered how many people knew that story, or how deeply the wound still affected him. Her phone rang, displaying an unfamiliar number. "Hello? Miss Bennett? This is Marcus Chen, Mr. Reed's personal assistant. He's requesting your presence. At his penthouse this afternoon at 2 o'clock. A car will be sent for you." "Why?" Lily asked, surprised by the formal invitation after 2 weeks of silence. "I'm not at liberty to discuss the matter over the phone," Marcus replied, his tone professionally neutral. "Will you be available?" Curiosity overrode her better judgment. "Yes, I'll be ready at 2. Zoe raised an eyebrow as Lily ended the call. "Secret rendezvous with the embattled CEO." "It's probably nothing," Lily said, trying to sound casual despite the flutter of anticipation in her chest. "Maybe he wants to apologize for how things ended. Or maybe he needs someone he can trust," Zoe suggested. "From what you told me about that night, you saw parts of him no one else sees. That means something, Lily." The sleek black car arrived precisely at 2 o'clock. To Lily's surprise, it didn't take her to Ethan's penthouse, but to a modest lakefront cabin on the outskirts of Portland. As the car pulled up the gravel driveway, Ethan emerged from the cabin's front door. He looked different, his designer suit replaced by worn jeans and a flannel shirt, his usually clean-shaven face sporting several days' worth of stubble. The Katitao, carefully maintained image of Ethan Reed, CEO, had been stripped away, leaving just the man beneath. "Thank you for coming," he said, as she approached, his voice rough with exhaustion. "I wasn't sure you would." "Neither was I," Lily admitted. "Your assistant didn't exactly explain what this is about." "It's about trust," Ethan replied simply, holding the door open for her. "And you're the only person I can think of who has no reason to lie to me right now." The interior of the cabin was rustic but comfortable, a stark contrast to the ultra-modern penthouse where they'd last met. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace, casting warm light across the open living area. "Is this yours?" Lily asked, taking in the surroundings. "It was my father's," Ethan explained, moving to the kitchen area to pour 2 cups of coffee. "The only property I kept after he passed. No one knows about it except Marcus, and now you." The significance of this admission wasn't lost on Lily. He was showing her a private sanctuary, a place untouched by the wealth and status that defined his public life. "I've been following the news," she said carefully, accepting the coffee he offered. "Your company's in trouble. Not just the company, me." Ethan's expression darkened. "Someone systematically framed me for embezzlement, fabricated evidence, manipulated financial records, created an elaborate paper trail leading directly to offshore accounts in my name. Accounts I knew nothing about, until federal investigators showed up at my office with a warrant. Claire, Lily said, the pieces falling into place. It's her, isn't it? That's what those documents in your workshop were about. You were building a case against her. Ethan nodded, running a hand through his disheveled hair. I've suspected for over a year. Small discrepancies at first, easily dismissed as accounting. Errors, then larger sums disappearing, always with plausible explanations. She's brilliant, methodical, and she knows every weakness in our system because she helped design it. Why not report her as soon as you had evidence? Because it wasn't enough, Ethan sighed, the weight of his predicament evident in the slump of his shoulders. And because our history complicates things. Any accusation I make against her could be dismissed as personal vendetta, the jilted fiancé trying to destroy her career. So you've been investigating quietly, building a case, Lily surmised, but she found out. And accelerated her timeline, Ethan confirmed. The day after you visited my penthouse, an anonymous whistleblower sent evidence of fraud to the SEC, the board of directors, and several financial news outlets, all pointing directly to me. The timing wasn't coincidental, Lily realized. Her presence in Ethan's workshop, her discovery of the confidential folder. What if there had been security cameras? What if Claire had been monitoring Ethan's activities? You think I'm involved, she said suddenly, understanding dawning. That's why you brought me here, to confront me away from witnesses. No, Ethan's denial was immediate and emphatic. I brought you here because you're the only person who's seen the real me, not just the CEO, not just the billionaire. You saw my workshop, my personal projects, the things that actually matter to me. He moved closer, his eyes intense with emotion. Everything I've built is being stripped away, Lily. My reputation, my company, my legacy. Soon they'll freeze my assets, possibly file criminal charges. I've spent the past 2 weeks trying to gather enough evidence to prove my innocence, but Claire's covered her tracks too well. I still don't understand why I'm here, Lily said, though part of her already knew the answer, the part that had felt an inexplicable connection to this man from the moment their eyes met across a crowded ballroom. Because I need someone who can see the truth when everyone else sees only what they expect to see, Ethan replied, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. And because in the middle of the worst crisis of my life, all I could think about was you. The confession hung in the air between them, raw and honest, in a way that left no room for pretense. Lily felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble, the defenses she'd built against vulnerability, against the risk of caring too deeply. You barely know me, she protested weakly. I know enough, Ethan countered, taking her hand in his. I know you're afraid of taking chances with your art, because you're afraid of rejection. I know you observe life more than you participate in it. I know you see things others miss. His thumb traced gentle circles on her palm. And I know that. When I'm with you, the rest of it, the money, the status, the expectations, none of it matters. The intensity of his gaze made Lily's breath catch. This wasn't the calculated seduction she might have expected from someone like Ethan Reed. This was vulnerability in its purest form, a man stripped of his armor, offering his truth without guarantee of reciprocation. What do you want from me? She asked softly. Help me find proof of what Claire's done, Ethan answered. Your perspective, your artist's eye for detail. And, he hesitated, vulnerability written across his features. Stay with me here while we do it. I can't go back to the penthouse, it's under surveillance. I can't trust anyone at the company. I'm alone in this, Lily, except for you. It was madness, Lily knew. Getting involved in corporate espionage, fraud investigations, the downfall of a tech empire. These weren't things that happened to coffee shop baristas with unrecognized artistic talent. Yet the alternative, walking away, returning to her safe but unfulfilled existence, suddenly seemed impossible. I'll help you, she said, the decision crystallizing as she spoke the words. But I need complete honesty from you. No more secrets. Relief washed over Ethan's face, followed by something deeper, gratitude mixed with an emotion Lily wasn't ready to name. He reached for her, hesitantly at first, then with growing certainty drawing her into an embrace that felt like coming home. "Thank you," he whispered against her hair, "for seeing me. The real me." The next 3 days passed in a blur of intense focus. Lily and Ethan converted the cabin's living room into an investigation headquarters, financial documents covering every surface, timelines taped to walls, connections mapped with color-coded string. Marcus brought secure laptops and files, then returned to Portland to serve as their eyes and ears within Reed Innovations. Working side by side, they fell into an easy rhythm. Ethan's technical knowledge complemented Lily's intuitive approach to problem-solving. Where he saw numbers and patterns, she noticed emotional inconsistencies, gaps in logic that pointed toward human motivation rather than financial gain. "Claire isn't just stealing money," Lily observed on the third night, studying photographs of the executive team taken over several years. "Look at how she positions herself in these photos, always closest to power, always slightly apart from others. This isn't about wealth for her, it's about control." "She always wanted to run the company," Ethan admitted, pouring them both another cup of coffee. "When we were engaged, she would talk about Reed Innovations' potential, if only the focus shifted from innovation to acquisition. I thought she shared my vision. I was wrong. What changed? Why frame you now after all these years?" Ethan's expression darkened. "The East Africa project. The board was finally coming around to my idea of creating affordable technology for developing regions. Claire's always opposed it. Too little profit, too much investment. If I succeeded, it would shift the company's direction permanently." Lily finished his thought. "Away from her vision, toward yours." As she spoke, her fingers absently traced a financial report from 6 months earlier. Something caught her eye, a footnote referencing a subsidiary company she hadn't encountered in their research. "Phoenix Holdings," she read aloud. "That's the same name as your confidential folder, Project Phoenix." Ethan frowned, looking over her shoulder. "That's not one of our subsidiaries, at least not one I created." Working together, they dug deeper, uncovering a shell company established 3 years earlier under Reed Innovations' corporate umbrella, but without proper board approval or CEO authorization. Phoenix Holdings had been systematically siphoning small amounts from various corporate accounts, never enough to trigger automatic alerts, but substantial when accumulated over time. "This is it," Ethan breathed, excitement building as they followed the money trail. "This is how she's been moving funds, and look, the signatory on these documents isn't me, but it's designed to look like my signature." "Can you prove it's forged?" "With the right experts, yes, but more importantly," Ethan highlighted another document. "Look at the dates. I was in Tokyo when this was supposedly signed in Portland. I can prove I wasn't physically present to sign these papers." Dawn broke over the lake, casting golden light across their makeshift investigation room. Ethan and Lily had compiled enough evidence to at least cast reasonable doubt on the accusations against him. It wasn't a complete vindication, but it was a start. Enough to take to his lawyers, enough to begin fighting back. "We did it," Lily said, exhaustion and elation mingling as she leaned against Ethan on the cabin's porch, watching the sun rise over the still waters. "We have a chance now," Ethan corrected, his arm tightening around her shoulders. "It's still going to be a fight. Even with this evidence, Claire has powerful allies. The company might never recover from the scandal." "Would that be so terrible?" Lily asked softly. "You could start over. Build something new, something truly yours, without the constraints of other people's expectations." Ethan was quiet for a long moment, considering her words. "I've defined myself by Reed Innovations for so long," he finally said. "It was my father's dream before it was mine. Losing it feels like losing part of my identity." "Or maybe it's an opportunity to discover who you really are," Lily suggested. "The man who works on solar panels for remote villages, who cooks pasta from scratch, who sees beauty in imperfection." She turned to face him fully. "The man I've come to care about." The admission slipped out before she could stop it. The truth she'd been avoiding since that first night in his penthouse. Despite every rational argument against it, Despite the worlds that separated them, Lily Bennett had fallen for Ethan Reed, not the billionaire CEO, but the complex, vulnerable man beneath the public persona. Ethan's expression softened, his hand coming up to cup her cheek. "These past few days, with everything falling apart around me, you've been my anchor, Lily, the one thing that makes sense when nothing else does." He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. But Lily met him halfway, their lips coming together in a kiss that held both question and answer, tentative at first, then deepening with shared certainty. In that moment, the differences in their backgrounds, their bank accounts, their social spheres, seemed insignificant compared to the understanding that had grown between them. When they finally separated, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "Whatever happens with the company, with Claire, with all of it, this is real. What I feel for you is real." "I'm scared," Lily admitted, vulnerability raw in her voice. "Not just of what we're facing with Claire and the investigation, but of this, us. I've spent so long protecting myself, keeping my dreams small, my expectations lower. Caring about you means risking everything." "I know," Ethan whispered, his fingers threading through hers. "I've been hiding too, behind wealth, behind the company, behind an image I thought would protect me from being hurt again. But I don't want to hide anymore, not from you." The ringing of Ethan's secure phone shattered the moment. Marcus's number flashed on the screen. "They're moving faster than we anticipated," Marcus reported when Ethan answered. "The board has called an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning. Claire's pushing for your immediate removal as CEO. We need more time," Ethan replied, tension returning to his voice. "The evidence we've gathered is compelling but incomplete. If we move too soon, she could still spin this against me." "There is no more time," Marcus insisted. "You need to come back to Portland now, present what you have, and fight for your company, or it won't be yours by this time tomorrow." After ending the call, Ethan turned to Lily, conflict evident in his expression. "I have to go back. Everything we've discovered, it's enough to raise questions, maybe delay the board's decision, but not enough to clear my name completely." "Then I'm coming with you," Lily said without hesitation. "It's going to get ugly," Ethan warned. "Claire won't give up easily. She might try to discredit you, to paint you as... As what? The gold digger who seduced the vulnerable CEO during his crisis?" Lily smiled wryly. "Let her try. I've got nothing to lose, Ethan. No reputation to protect, no fortune to defend, just my integrity and yours." As they gathered their evidence and prepared to return to Portland, Lily felt a strange calm settle over her. For years she had avoided risk, played it safe, kept her dreams small out of fear of failure. Now, standing with Ethan on the precipice of what could be the complete disruption of both their lives, she felt more alive than she had in years. Whatever came next, they would face it. Together, not billionaire and barista, but simply two people who had found in each other the courage to be truly seen. The Reed Innovations boardroom fell silent as Ethan and Lily entered, all eyes tracking their joined hands before shifting to the evidence folders they carried. Claire Westfield sat at the far end of the table, her perfect composure showing only the slightest crack as she registered Lily's presence. "Mr. Reed," the board chairman began, "this unscheduled appearance is highly irregular given the circumstances, and bringing an outsider to a confidential board meeting is completely unacceptable." "Ms. Bennett isn't an outsider," Ethan replied calmly, his confidence restored now that he was fighting back rather than merely defending himself. "She's a key witness to financial irregularities within this company, irregularities that were deliberately created to frame me for crimes I didn't commit." Claire's laugh was soft but cutting. "Really, Ethan? You're going to stake your defense on the testimony of your latest conquest? How convenient that you found someone so malleable just when you needed an ally." The condescension in her tone made Lily bristle, but she maintained her composure, meeting Claire's cold gaze directly. "Actually, Ms. Westfield, I'm here because I recognize a predator when I see one. Your signature is on every Phoenix Holdings document, cleverly disguised behind corporate jargon, but present nonetheless." Claire's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose slightly, the only indication that Lily's words had hit their mark. Phoenix Holdings? I'm afraid I don't know what you're referring to. I think you do, Ethan interjected, distributing copies of their evidence to each board member. A shell company established 3 years ago, used to siphon corporate funds into offshore accounts that were later linked to me through forged signatures and falsified records. For the next hour, Ethan methodically presented their findings, the timeline of funds transfers, the discrepancies in authorization signatures, the correlation between Claire's objections to the East Africa project and the escalation of her embezzlement scheme. Throughout it all, Lily watched the board members' expressions shift from skepticism to uncertainty to growing concern. Claire's rebuttals grew increasingly desperate as the evidence mounted against her. When finally confronted with proof that Ethan had been in Tokyo when his signature appeared on documents in Portland, her composure cracked completely. "You never understood what this company could be," she spat, abandoning pretense. "Wasting resources on humanitarian projects when we could be dominating markets, acquiring competitors, building real power." "That was never my vision for Reed Innovations," Ethan replied quietly. "It was never my father's vision either. He didn't build this company to dominate. He built it to innovate, to create technology that improves lives." "A vision that would have bankrupted us if I hadn't intervened," Claire retorted. "I kept this company profitable while you played philanthropist with our resources." The board chairman cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with the personal nature the confrontation had taken. "These are serious allegations, Ms. Westfield. If even half of what Mr. Reed has presented is verified, we're talking about criminal charges." Claire's eyes darted around the room, calculating before settling on Lily with undisguised contempt. "You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into," she said quietly. "This isn't over." As security escorted Claire from the boardroom, the chairman turned to Ethan with a grave expression. "The board will need time to verify this evidence and conduct its own investigation. In the meantime, your suspension remains in effect, Mr. Reed." Ethan nodded, accepting the decision with unexpected equanimity. "I understand. And I should inform you all that regardless of the outcome, I'm reconsidering my role at Reed Innovations. Recent events have forced me to reevaluate my priorities." The statement sent a ripple of surprise through the boardroom, but Ethan offered no further explanation. Taking Lily's hand, he led her out of the corporate headquarters into the bright Portland afternoon, both of them breathing deeply once they escaped the stifling atmosphere. "Did you mean that?" Lily asked as they walked together, no particular destination in mind. "About reconsidering your role?" "Yes," Ethan replied without hesitation. "Even if they clear my name, even if they beg me to return, I'm not sure that's what I want anymore." He stopped walking, turning to face her fully. "These past weeks, losing everything I thought defined me, it's been terrifying, but also clarifying." "How so?" "I've been chasing my father's legacy, trying to build something bigger, more impressive, more valuable, but measuring value all wrong." His expression softened as he looked at her. "What matters isn't the company or the fortune or the reputation. What matters is having work that means something, and people who see you for who you really are." Lily felt her heart expand with emotion she'd been too afraid to name until now. "And what about us? Where do we go from here?" Ethan smiled, not the practiced, camera-ready smile of CEO Ethan Reed, but the genuine expression of a man who had finally found something real to hold on to amid the artifice. "I don't know exactly," he admitted, "but I want to find out. Together." He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch reverent. "You showed me what courage looks like, Lily. Not the courage to build an empire, but the courage to be authentic, to pursue what matters, even when it's scary. I don't want to go back to living any other way." As the afternoon sun painted Portland, in golden light, Lily and Ethan walked hand in hand toward an uncertain but shared future. The journey ahead would be complicated. Claire's legal proceedings, the rebuilding of Reed Innovations' reputation, the inevitable scrutiny their relationship would face, but for the first time in years, neither of them was hiding. Whatever, came next. They would face it as their true selves. No longer the lonely artist afraid to pursue her dreams or the isolated billionaire trapped in a prison of expectations. Together, they had found something more valuable than success or security: the freedom to be seen and loved exactly as they were. Dearest listeners, we hope you've been captivated by Lily and Ethan's journey of authenticity and courage. For more emotionally gripping stories that explore the complexities of love, trust, and self-discovery, we've prepared a special playlist of equally compelling narratives. Find it by clicking to your left. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Every day we bring you unique stories that delve into life's